new administration is on the way in Trussville, and we'll talk to two of the incumbents. And ALDOT is ahead of schedule in Trussville on the interstate. Tribune Unscripted starts now. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Tribune Unscripted. I'm Brandon Dawkins with Tribune Digital Media. It's Thursday, so we're back with Tribune Unscripted. Feels like we were here 5 seconds ago for election night.
It does. And we should tell everybody we're sorry we're late. We've been in the studio laughing for about 20 minutes.
Yes,
so
it's okay to have fun sometimes. So anyway, but we are getting started today with the new mayor, the incoming mayor of Trussville. Ben Short is back with us. He got to join us for a few minutes on election night. Got to talk about a couple of things, but you wanted to have him back in and really just take a second to really kind of digest what's ahead and what you feel like the voters spoke pretty loudly Tuesday night, and we just want to talk to him about that and what we have.
Yeah, and our hope is, obviously we cover 9 cities. We would like to get the elected mayors, whether they're new or an incumbent, in over the next few weeks.
Yes, I was going to announce that later, but yes.
I wanted to name the segment "I Elected Who," but you wouldn't let me do that. No. You said it's embarrassing to the voters. But
that's not true.
I think
that's funny. You're funny.
We'll go back and I do think it'll be fun to go back and meet. We might have 1 or 2 in a runoff, I believe. But go back and just talk to them about, well, now you're the dog who chased the car and caught it. What are you going to do? But they all went in with a plan, so it'll be fun to share that with the communities. Yes,
absolutely. Okay, well, let's get started. Let's bring in Ben Short again, who is mayor-elect of Trussville. Ben, thanks for
Welcome
joining
to our elected who?
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, y'all.
Appreciate you being here. Where do you want to get started today?
I want to get started, and let's go ahead and tell our audience, in our next segment, we will have Councilor Jamie Anderson, who was the highest vote getter in Trussville, in the local election in Trussville. And so, Ben, that's kind of where I want to start here. I've got a kind of a little different view of what we saw take place in Trussville. I'm going to mention that there was a vote them all out, burn it down element in the Trussville election. And I want to make this really clear. We saw that in a number of the cities we cover. We cover 9 cities, and we saw that in a number of them. Ironically, it was in our more successful cities where we were seeing stuff like that. Obviously, it did not gain traction here in Trussville, but Ben, there's a couple of points that I took away from the election. I'm anxious to get your input on it. One is Trussville was in a unique situation, and only 3 incumbents were still running for office, and 2 of you were running against each other, and you and Councilor Bright. In the end, voters elected every available incumbent, meaning Councilor Anderson and yourself as mayor. The fact that Councilor Anderson was the highest vote total getter in the Trussville election, and I think a case could be made that had yours gone to an election, you may have had the highest vote total, or gone through a runoff, yours may have been the highest vote total in a couple of months. Do you feel a mandate from the voters of Trussville that have said to you and to Councilor Anderson, we want you back, we like the direction the city is going, and we want to see a continuation there?
Yeah, I think it just reaffirms the progress that we've made, under Mayor Choate's leadership and the things that we've done and accomplished over this past 5 years. And so, we've heard from the community, and we're going to continue to make progress. We've also, talked a lot about controlling growth, and I think that that message was clear as well. So they're proud of the progress that we've made, and they want to continue to see progress, and we're just going to do that in a strategic and controlled way moving forward.
Okay.
Well, and you made a point too when you earlier today, you made the point that, you have the group that was kind of like voting against everything that
stop it all.
But if you take Lisa Bright's total and Ben Short's total, that's like over 70% of people saying, hey, we like the progress Trussville's making. We want to keep going that way. I thought that was an interesting way to look at it as well.
You're right. I kind of viewed it that way, as you and Councilor Bright's votes almost as a package, as a total. They were Voters
saying,
were selecting,
hey,
we want to keep somebody here that's moving forward. We also talked about, and we could throw Irondale in this conversation, when you're running a campaign that focuses on the negative of a community, that's not an uncommon political strategy in Alabama. I've been here 60 years. I've seen it all my life, where you're going for that kind of lowest common denominator. But that becomes a very difficult political strategy when things like U.S. News and World Report comes out a week before election and names your high school number 5 in Alabama. ACAP scores come out and your middle school and elementary schools are number 5 in Alabama. Economic development stories about Trussville are endless. Ben, did you have a comfort level that just preaching the positives about Trussville were where you needed to stay?
I think that was evident throughout the entire campaign. Councilor Bright did the same thing. We just remained extremely positive in our messaging as it relates to Trussville, because we've accomplished a lot of great things. You mentioned the schools. The timing of those articles was fantastic. I'm glad to see that we're continuing to make strides there and continuing to improve. But no, staying positive is what it was all about through this entire thing.
Ben, I have a question. Like, moving forward, do you feel like there maybe is maybe there needs to be a different space for the city to communicate with the city in a different way, just to make sure that it felt like, and it always feels like this some in elections, but especially this time in Trussville, I felt like there had been a lot of there was misunderstanding about some of the city, some of the things that had gone on with the city. Do you see a space for maybe a different kind of communication arm moving forward for the next administration?
I definitely do. I've kind of alluded to this all along, that my communication style is a little bit differently, so I'm going to overburden the community with information. So the information that you want access to will be readily available to you, and I'm going to be putting out additional information more consistently. You'll see a swing in how the city utilizes its social media platforms to push information out, and hopefully I have the opportunity to come on here and share additional information, maybe on a monthly basis, provide an update to you.
Absolutely.
You really did take a little bit of a different path as a city councilor, in that I don't recall seeing an elected official in any of our cities that really worked social media as an elected official. I'm not talking about during the campaign, that's a kind of a given, but throughout your tenure on the city council, you really did use social media a lot to communicate with your constituents. As Brandon said, transparency is always an issue in every campaign, especially locally. How much do you think that played to your advantage, the fact that voters were used to communicating with you via that platform?
I don't know about an advantage on the political campaign side of things. I'm just proud of the consistency that I had over the past 5 years, and the accessibility. I did hear, as people were coming in to vote at the different locations, that did have an impact. They appreciated having access to that information, and so now, just moving forward, it's all about how can we consistently do that and provide different avenues for the folks that may not utilize social media, so they can be just as informed.
Yeah, and people, do you thoughts on, Ben? People have to take some of the responsibility too, to be engaged and take advantage, even if they don't use social media. I'm not a huge social media user, but I feel like we have to take some of that responsibility on ourselves to stay up to date on what's going on in the city where we live.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. I think advertising when these meetings are, where they are, just putting that out there, letting people know, hey, this is where we're going to be. Come be involved in the process.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. Every administration kind of follows tradition in terms of how council meetings, workshops are conducted. Just the way things go, it's like one mayor kind of picks it up from the previous mayor, but at the same time, every administration makes minor changes that the new mayor is a little more comfortable with. Do you see anything currently in terms of the structure of a council meeting, work session, anything there that you're already looking at and thinking, I'd like to make some alterations or adjustments?
Yeah, there's a few things. Again, they're minor in nature. There's obviously historical precedent that we follow, but there are things that I want to do specifically on the finance side of things. I think that was a big topic, throughout the campaign, was that people wanted additional information related to the city's finances. And I think educating the general public about municipal finance, because it is pretty complex. It's very different than running a general business. And so putting that information out there, I want monthly open finance meetings, and I think that's going to be done inside of a city council meeting where you'll hear directly from me as well as the city's finance director. I think that's one thing that will change in how we report those things. I also believe that you'll see kind of a shake-up a little bit as it comes to committee reports, getting a little bit more in-depth in terms of reporting what's going on. I think that's going to be an advantage, just so we are more effectively communicating as a council and then getting that back to our committee members. So I think you'll see some minor changes there that will help.
Got anything else?
Yeah, my final thing, it's tradition, the mayor at the beginning of every administration, one of the mayor's responsibilities is committee assignments for councilors. I know the newly elected council would be delighted to hear their committee assignments right here on the Tribune Unscripted.
Yeah.
Right now, would you go ahead and share those, Ben?
Oh, we are working through that. Obviously, Councilor Anderson, I'm going to lean on her being that incumbent and having that knowledge and having that seniority. I'll have a conversation with each and every council member, but the only one I've had a phone call with, Jim Miller and Councilor Anderson. Those are the two, so I'm still waiting to hear back from the three others. But we'll make sure everybody's in the right fit, and that way, we can move forward. But no, announcing them here, I don't want to share that quite yet.
Nice try, Scott.
Well, he didn't fall for it. I thought I'd give it a shot. Go ahead and be a little quicker with Ben.
Ben, is there anything else we didn't ask you about that you do want to talk about?
Hey, no, I think we're good. But if you think of other questions, I'm always welcome. I'm always happy to hop back on here and have a conversation.
I've got one final question. What would you like to say to the voters of Trussville?
Thank you, Trussville. I am extremely grateful for this opportunity. Extremely blessed. I did not think I'd be sitting in this chair today. I really thought we would be in a runoff, and I'm just grateful for your vote, and I'm excited to see what Trussville has for its future.
All right. We appreciate it so much. Thanks for coming on. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will be back with Councilor Anderson. Stay with us. Have you been to Discount Warehouse lately? New electronics, brand name makeup, and bedding arrive daily. Follow their Facebook page to find out about special sales on clothing, tools, and fireworks. Discount Warehouse, where you will never pay retail price. Okay. All right. Welcome back, everybody. Okay. Jamie's going to clip her mic on, and we are going to start going. So you made the point earlier that we did want to visit with both incumbents who are returning to the administration in Trussville. Ben Short obviously was one of those, and Jamie Anderson is the other. She's re-elected for council seat 4, correct? And 3. Golly, I'm sorry, everybody's number is confused. Council seat 3. Jamie's coming up for council seat 3. Jamie, thanks for joining us. You got your mic on now. You're good. So welcome.
Rod's still trying to get her to the screen, so we're trying to figure that out.
No worries. Can you hear me? You can go ahead though and kind of warn her where you're going to get started.
Well, yeah, one of the things we had talked about, Councilor Anderson, was you were the top vote getter in the Trussville local elections. We talked about that a little bit earlier. I think, and I tell people, I counsel people on this all the time who are thinking about running, incumbents are tough.
Yeah,
incumbents are tough. I don't care what you think, but they are tough. In Jamie's case, you grew up in Trussville. You've got a peer group of friends that have grown up around you since kindergarten, and are, you know, but you've also got a lot of people among your father's old supporters who tend to lead in and support you. How important was it to you to have those two groups behind your campaign?
Well, thanks, Scott and Brandon, for having me. It was very important. I do the very best I can to serve the people of Trussville in the same way that my dad did, and I always appreciate everyone who supported him for 20 years and 4 years before that when he was on council that support me. So even back in 2020, I relied on them when I ran, in Jeff Freeman's open seat. And so that's what I came back to the people of Trussville and just asked them to put their trust in me again, and I'm very grateful. But I rely a lot on those two groups, and I'm very thankful for them. So if it weren't for them, I wouldn't be here.
I am kind of fascinated with the highest vote getter situation, because it's hard for me to envision people really going in and marking one spot,
right,
submitting their ballot and leaving. But
yeah, well, it happens. Sometimes people don't vote on every office because they don't know the candidates as well, or maybe they were motivated to come in and vote for one or two people. But there's a difference. And as I went through and started looking at the highest vote total, I was not surprised actually to find that it was one of the very few incumbents people had a chance to vote for. Mm-hmm. We just talked to Ben, our mayor-elect, about that, Jamie, in that voters really had a limited opportunity to vote for incumbents in this election. Now, we did have a couple of candidates that had previous experience, so that was a little different thing, but really there were only 3 of you offering yourselves up for re-election, and 2 were running against each other. Was it meaningful to you that voters seized both opportunities, elected a mayor who was a city council person and re-elected you to your council seat? Is that meaningful to you that that citizens wanted y'all to continue?
Very much so. But at the same time, I do want to be clear that I heard that there are things that people would like to change. I see it actually as a vote of confidence that now Mayor-elect Short and myself can help bring those changes about, that they trust us to do that. And I think our message was heard, even among all the noise. And I actually heard what Ben said, how he and Councilor Bright remained very positive throughout their campaigns. I did the same. I don't believe that there is any room, or how about this? I don't subscribe to the negativity. I just don't. I said in one of my campaign lives that comparison is the thief of joy, and you can look to another city and ask why they have this, that, or the other thing, and maybe they pay for garbage, or maybe they don't have a school system that they're supporting, or whatever the case may be. But I can't see anything but good things when I look around Trussville. I know that we can improve on many things, and I just take that as a vote of confidence from the citizens of Trussville, that we can bring about the change that they've asked for, but that they're also happy with the way that we're headed, that they did not vote for full change, and I'm very grateful.
What do you feel like some of those things were that you did hear, where you're expressing, that y'all both have expressed, hey, we hear you on some things that maybe need to do differently? What are those things that you have rolling around in your brain that you think, okay, I see what you're saying there?
Sure. To me, communication was the number one thing.
Okay.
And again, not disparaging anyone and how they choose to communicate, but the communication issue is what I heard across the board. That's from like supporters for me that would have voted for me no matter what, and then that's people who did not know me or my opponent and wanted to know how I felt about it. And I'd say that the impetus for that was the financial issues that have come up the last couple of months. And I think you hit the nail on the head, Brandon, when you said there was some, misunderstanding, right? There's misinformation, misunderstanding about actually things that we had done, the current, status of things. There will still be people, no doubt, that will remain willfully ignorant, but there's no excuse in this day and age, I don't think, with social media and with all of the different outlets that we have, not to communicate from City Hall in, like Ben said, in an effective manner, in an over-information type thing. We have to cut through the noise and make sure the people of Trussville know the important things, and especially if it's bad news, especially if like our sales tax is declining, or
That's true.
Anything that we have to struggle with where we're going to end up coming to ask 4 new counselors and myself to make a tough decision on council that could have political ramifications, right? If we're going to do that, it's better to get that news out there now, right? Bad news does not get better with time, and it's better to cut through all the noise and make sure people have the information going forward, especially if it's something that's complex or could potentially be turned as a negative, right? Because there is no doubt that we're going to have some very tricky issues that we're going to have to navigate, and the more communication, the better. So that's one thing that I heard. Another was just, and again, I think transparency speaks to the communication, but also, and I'll go back to it, is the process of selecting our school board. I did hear that, and I think that they have heard from both myself and Mayor-elect Short that we are open to changing that process or improving it as we need to. And I'll go back and say, of course, the time to change a process is not when you're in the middle of a process. I'm a process person, so but I'm very open to looking at that. So those are two of the things, I guess, off the top of my head. But there were others as well that people specifically said, hey, we like the way we're going, but we would like you to take a look at improving these areas. And I heard that. So I'm thankful that they recognized that we heard.
I find something a little baffling. I find several things baffling, but one in particular is that some of the people, the outcry for vote everybody out, we need to change everything. A lot of those people talked about transparency. We want transparency, and demanded more transparency throughout the campaign. But I go back and look at the garbage fee, for example, a situation, and by the way, let's step back to the downturn in brick and mortar sales tax. The first place the Tribune heard that from, and I think probably about the same time the council heard it, was from the mayor. He called us specifically and said, we've got this going on, and we did a story on it. So there was transparency, and when we heard about when the bond rating went from AA plus to AA, the first place the Tribune heard that was when the mayor called the Tribune before it was public and told us about it, and we did a story on that. So this stuff, there is transparency there. Things do get out, but going back to the garbage fee, the council publicly talked about a downturn in the sales tax, brick and mortar sales tax, and that was a hole that they needed to look at filling. That may come by looking for increased revenues, that may come by cutting expenses, but it was something the council had to address. You called a council meeting. You discussed that publicly over, I think, 3, maybe 4 council meetings, and ultimately the council tabled it and said, we don't think this is the way to go. But in the heat of that, while the council is carrying on public business in public meetings on video for the entire community to hear, you're hearing on the campaign trail, y'all aren't transparent. How does that make you feel when you literally could not have been more transparent unless y'all all showed up nude?
So.
And please don't do that.
No, noted. Not in the plans. So even on election day, I was outside of North Park and handing out my card to people and introducing myself, and the only question one person had for me was, did you vote for the garbage fee? And he was walking in. I said, no, I didn't. because I did not have time to go back into the backstory and
You couldn't
explain.
explain it too much, y'all discussed it.
While we did it, so I just
Okay.
said, no, sir, I didn't. He said, you've got my vote, and walked in. And I thought, okay, Lord forgive me, because obviously there's a whole story to it, and I should have given him the full, right? We didn't have time for
He
that.
didn't want the full story.
No, so thank you, sir, for your vote. But that proved to me that there were still going to be people that went in on Tuesday and voted against me or voted against the incumbents because they thought we had voted for it. So yes, I hear that. I do think, though, that a lot of discussion happened in workshop, and that's one of the things that I said. And again, Mayor-elect Short and I have to talk about it, but I have said that if I got reelected, I would push this, and I will, putting our workshops on YouTube.
Yeah, put it on camera.
As well. And making sure that people can see that discussion, because a lot of times we do seem like we're not asking any questions in council meeting, or something has gone on the consent agenda that's already been discussed in workshop, which are open to the public, which are on the calendar. I know, but they're not put online for people who would like it online. So, and I do understand that people loved the gateway, right? It's cost prohibitive to put the gateway in your mailbox every month. And that used to be the newsletter that the city would send out to make sure that they communicated with the citizens.
It was terrific.
It was great. And it gave you what you needed to know for Trussville Utilities and the city of Trussville, period, right? And Chamber of Commerce, that was in there too. It was really nice. Maybe we can do something like that online. Maybe putting the workshops out there will help. But us voting yes to allow the mayor to explore paying basically asking the citizens to pay for the garbage fee and bringing us back a contract, that is what the yes and no votes were for. You're absolutely right. There was never a vote taken on whether it would pass or not. Once that contract came back, and I know for me personally, I can't speak for anyone else, once it didn't have a sunset clause, it didn't protect seniors, it didn't protect people on fixed income, and there was no guarantee that it wouldn't go up percentage-wise every year, that was a no for me. And you saw that across the board, really, which is why it was tabled. But the problem hasn't gone away. So we still have to find other places where we can plug the deficit, and we have. Thankfully, things have happened since then, and now we are in the black. I think the last I heard was $750,000. Excuse me. For this budget, but we've got 1 month left in the fiscal year, and we really do have to do a lot of work to pass next year's budget. And I'm not exactly sure of the timing on that. I'm sure the mayor and Mayor-elect Short will talk about when that is going to be passed. So that will be the next big piece of information we need to get out to the people of Trussville, is how much we're going to have to cut the budget. So we're not at a position where we are budgeting what came in last year. We are in a position where we will have to cut the budget by several $1 million for the next FY. That's the kind of information that I want out in detail as soon as possible. And then for those who don't want to engage, then that's fine. But as long as we can look back and say we talked about it, we streamed our workshop, we streamed our council meeting as soon as possible, and details were discussed, the ones that we can discuss. That's what I would like to provide the people of Trussville, and that's what I said in my campaign. Same with, I think we heard feedback on executive session. There are 9 reasons why we legally have to go into executive session. So it's not like we can just decide to do it or not to do it. And I guess that's another piece of education that, sometimes you want to get down in the weeds and things, and sometimes you don't, but we certainly don't use executive session to keep things from people either. I just want to put that out there.
No, and by law, you have to name the legal reason you're going into executive session,
and then can only speak about that thing in executive session. Nothing else can be discussed.
And we report that every single time y'all go
Yes,
to
sir,
executive session. I just wondered if candidates shared the frustration, because honestly, from a newspaper standpoint, when we hear this stuff, I don't know what to do except throw my hands in the air and say, we don't even charge for the news. You can read it for free and you choose not to, and then say somebody hid it from you. I'm sorry, my sympathy is just fresh out of supply right now.
Well, that's okay because we'll pick up the slack for you, because if you've put your name out there to run for city council, especially if you've been elected, I'm of the opinion that you need some infinite patience, right? So I don't always have it. I'm not always perfect, but I will say, and maybe this is my message to the new counselors as well, is that pack your patience, right? If you're going to pack a survival kit here, pack your patience. Be ready to explain 10 times over. Do it with a smile on your face, and assume that the person you're talking to, always believe the best about the person you're talking to. They may have absolute ill intent towards you and want to trip you up or say something about you on social media. Let it roll off your back. Pack your patience. Remember that you love this city, that you volunteered for this, that you asked people to put you in this position, and treat them with respect. And we'll leave the negative and the war chants for somebody else.
Well, let's switch gears. Let's turn. I told you before you came on the show, I'm putting you on the spot here today because I feel like we didn't get to cover this on the show. You guys covered it in the paper, but so I hated for it to not get mentioned on the show. But last Friday night, and Jamie, I put you on the spot because you're on the committee, we had the first Husky Hall of Fame class inducted, and they did it at halftime, and we're going to talk about those people. But you had mentioned there was some confusion.
Yeah.
So maybe cover that, and then we'll talk to Jamie about.
Well, we'll mention this to start. Okay. This is in recognition of Trussville City Schools' 20th year.
Right.
The school board and the TCS decided they wanted to recognize the movers and shakers, the people who helped found Trussville City Schools, but they also want to remember some of the people, because Hewitt-Trussville has a very long history as a Jefferson County school. So it's kind of a blend of that, and I'll ask Counselor Anderson to kind of take it from there. Your father was in this inaugural class, and can you kind of explain your perspective of what's going on?
Well, I first want to say that Chad Summers and Dr. Martin and Sandra Vernon, they got together and started this. I got an invitation to be part of the committee that selected the inaugural class, and I hope to stay on the committee to select further classes. But it was, kind of the impetus was the 20 years and celebrating the schools, and the idea was to honor those who had a great impact on what Trussville City Schools is today, whether it was starting it in the case of the first board members, school board members were honored, or in my dad's case, Mayor Melton, who along with Bill Roberts, who was also honored and was on that board, and led the charge as far as leaving Jefferson County Schools and forming our own school system, and acquired all the land and saved all the money and passed that 1-cent sales tax that we talked a lot about this year, and that we still give the schools that 1 penny, and that's how we built that nest egg to get started. But they also honored folks like Dr. Connie Williams, who Brandon and I were in high school when Dr. Williams was the principal, and that was the first year Hewitt-Trussville was recognized. We were still in Jefferson County, but recognized as a blue ribbon school. And then people that, posthumously, right, those who have left us but left a legacy at Hewitt. Miss Wilma Roby, as a famous English teacher who was very beloved, but many of her students, including my mother, said when they went to college, it was too easy because they had barely passed Miss Roby's English class. And then also Ned and Goldie Payne were honored for just the tremendous, the tremendous gift of the land for where Payne Elementary School is right now. And I want to make sure I don't miss anybody else. So Wilma Roby, Dr. Williams, Bill Roberts, and then the first school board of education was included Dennis Hill, John Floyd, who has passed, but was also very instrumental in a lot of things around Trussville. Butch Howard, Ned Payne was in that group, Ormond Bentley, and Stan Garrett. And so it was my honor to be on there. I had to recuse myself when it came to voting for Mayor Melton, but I thought that it was a great event, and I have to give all the credit in the world to Chad Summers and Dr. Martin and Sandra Vernon for pulling that off. It was a first-class event, and rightfully so, these people being honored for their role in helping start Trussville City Schools 20 years ago. Look how far we've come. I mean, it really is.
Yeah,
it really is amazing.
It is amazing.
Yeah, we had some questions that came up after this class was announced. Jack Wood's name came up, a couple of others. So I want to share with our audience, this is not a Hewitt-Trussville High School Athletic Hall of Fame. There actually is, there is something of that nature. Several years ago, I was actually, the Tribune did some stories on it. There was an inaugural class that was Jack Wood, former coach, Jay Barker, and Brandon Cox. You would have to talk to the organizers of that to kind of find out where that is. To my knowledge,
that's different than this.
That's different from this. So those guys were honored for an Athletic Hall of Fame. I don't know what the future plans are there, but this is more a totality of the school system. People forget, because Hewitt-Trussville's been here for so long, a lot of people just forget that as a system, we're only 20 years old. We're a very old city, but we're a very young school system, just got out of our teen years. And I don't want to go back and revisit the campaign, but you're in the middle of a heated campaign. People are talking about change everything, vote them all out. And in that period, we were just talking to Mayor-elect Short about it. We get the news that Hewitt-Trussville's the number 5 high school in Alabama. Middle school and elementaries are number 5 in Alabama. You're getting, and we've almost become accustomed to just good news flowing in about our community all the time. How did you keep a straight face?
Well, remember that patience I talked about packing just a minute ago? Yes. So just always have to look, because there is such good news all the time. And I'm a glass half full type person anyway. I know some people aren't. But I see the traffic. I see the infrastructure needs. I see the things that people get irritated about. But I'm with you. There are so many wonderful things about Trussville, and it is good news most of the time. I mean, a majority of the time. But you can't say enough about our schools. You really can't. And I said this on one of my last lives. Our biggest problem is people don't want anyone else to move here. It is, when people say one of the biggest issues is controlling growth, what does that mean? That means we don't want to build a house on every square inch of this town. We want to actually preserve some for parks and preservation and keeping the green and keeping the trees. Why is that? Because everyone wants to move here. I mean, why is the traffic an issue? Because the schools are so good, because people want to move here. And it's amazing because we do, I called it, my segment was us for no more shut the door, because that's how I see it, right? You're so glad your neighborhood was built. Boy, I'm glad mine was built in 2007, but those hills were pristine when I was growing up. Brandon, you remember, you drive up Linden Street, there was nothing but trees after the last house halfway up the hill.
Yep.
And it was beautiful, right? Until you got to 40 Road. And so there was nothing up there. But I sure am glad my house was built. And then you're glad your neighbor's house was built, and your best friend's house. But then after that, stop. They're calling down, what are you letting all these people move into town for? What, can't you control the growth? But I've already said, hey, pack your patience. We ask to be servants of the community, and that's what we've got to be. And so if I have to answer it one time or 1,000 times, I'm okay with that, because Trussville is so great. And you won't ever convince me otherwise. So even if you're a negative Nelly and you are not making plans to move out, but you just want to complain the whole time, that's okay. You can do that.
Yeah, she gives you the right.
Well, I mean, all this good news, and she knows a restaurant she can't talk about, and I know a restaurant I can't talk about, so all the good news isn't even out there yet, is it, Jamie?
The good news is not even out there yet. No, there are, I talked about the excuse me, I talked about the challenges we're going to have as the next council over the next 4 years, but there's also going to be some really great things that are happening that I think people are going to be really pleased with. And again, it's going to cause another influx of people saying, can't you keep people out of here? Can't we put the gates up?
Actually, I think there's quite a bit of pressure on this new administration. I mean, I don't know how you follow starting a school system, building a civic center, starting a downtown where none existed, but no pressure on you guys, but
well, I
don't know what the next big thing is.
The ship stable, So
yeah,
anyway,
when do you think the Dome Stadium will get built?
Ignore him, Jamie. Jamie, thanks for taking time out of your day, seriously, and thanks for just helping us highlight these Husky Hall of Fame men and women too. We appreciate that.
Absolutely. If I could just say one more thing, I just want to thank the people of Trussville again for their trust in me, and I appreciate all the support, and I'm humbled and honored, and we want to do our best work for you. So my phone number's out there. Anyone can call me, but it is a privilege to live here, and it's really an honor to serve. So thank you, and thanks for having me today.
Thank you for your service.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll wrap up the rest of the news for the day, so stay with us.
I'm Drew Lawley, General Manager at Courtesy Buick GMC. Come see us at Courtesy, where we have over 300 vehicles to choose from, including GMCs, Buicks, and certified pre-owned vehicles. Come see us at Courtesy or check us out at courtesybirmingham.com. Proud supporter of our area high school teams.
If you don't have a will, trust, or some kind of estate plan, you're leaving your loved ones with a lot of headaches. Probate fees and tax issues bring stress to your family while they grieve your loss. Cahaba Law Group is here to protect them and give you reassurance that your hard-earned money and assets are not lost to bureaucratic mayhem. They can help you create the ideal estate plan. If you're currently in probate, Cahaba Law Group can help assist you there too. Plus, they can handle more than just probate. They can serve you in just about any legal matter. Begin now by scheduling a consultation at cahabalaw.net.
Welcome back, everybody. Okay, well, we're going to just blow through the election results from the other night quickly, and then we won't talk about them anymore. But it was so fast the other night, and it's so hard to get those numbers in and keep everything straight. It kind of takes a minute to digest everything. But it was really, like you and I were talking about it before the show today, it was really an active, interesting election night for the 9 cities that we cover. There was just a lot of changes, but there were also a lot of voices heard. I thought Irondale was one of those where, again, you had a small group of burn the house down people who were interested in flipping over the administration that were clearly, obviously, in the minority as mayor. All their incumbents were reelected. One incumbent that was part of the burn it down, I'm sorry, all but one incumbent was reelected. That one incumbent was part of the burn it down group, and she was voted out. And that was a tight race.
That was a close race.
She was voted out. But I think overwhelmingly that city spoke that they are happy with the direction that Mayor Stewart is leading them. And I think if you try to make that argument again right there,
well, let's start with this.
Falling on deaf ears, because Irondale is moving forward, and the people who are there want to continue to move forward. I think that's what we heard the other night.
Most of the anti-Irondale crowd, the group that wanted everybody voted out, most of those candidates did not bother to show up for the political forums here.
Right.
Including Mayor Stewart's opponent, and they pretty much got slaughtered in the election.
Yeah, they did.
We tell people all the time, you may choose not to come to the forum. That doesn't mean what you're concerned about won't be discussed. It just simply means you won't be here to share your position on that. It'll still be discussed. So Irondale kind of learned that in a pretty big way. If you're running in Irondale on a let's burn it all down, vote everybody out platform, and then 8-9 days before election, Costco announces they're coming to your town.
Well,
it's kind of like Trussville, burn Trussville down, and U.S. News and World Report.
And that is a good point. Like, we've talked about that a lot, but like even just look like they have taken, this local government has taken Irondale from a city where nothing new had happened in forever.
An old, proud city that had really become stagnant.
And not only did they pass a property tax in order to do it, but then to set this administration up to do it, and these people are doing what people voted, like 70% of the people voted for that property tax increase. And then once you layer Costco on top of that, you're just like the new library just opened.
I mean, it's just been one good story after another.
I just thought
And of course,
the burn it down people were just really missing it. I love Mayor Stewart's quote that ran in the story the other night, where it said, "Today's election was a referendum on the new Irondale, and the people have spoken loudly and clearly. They want the work to continue." Period.
It kind of says it all.
It really does.
Of course, the Tribune has been accused of orchestrating all this. I just want y'all to know that coordinating U.S. News World Report to release that last week and then get Costco to release their stuff 2 weeks. Y'all have no idea how hard I've worked to get all these stories out there in the last 10 days. I wish we were that good.
Yeah, people that are not paying attention to what's going on in Irondale, people need to be paying attention.
It does.
Because they have a bright future ahead of them, I think. So anyway, I just think it's been really fun to follow, and I'm excited for Irondale for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't really even gotten into what will Costco trigger, what other developments will trigger
really
because of that. So
to see.
They're just in a really strong upswing.
Absolutely. I have these in no particular order, but Centerpoint's going to be interesting to watch.
It is.
That's one of those kind of like it was here in Trussville. You've got a couple of very qualified, good people running there, unfortunately against each other, and you're going to lose one of them in the process. And so you've got a mayor who's made some progress on some things, and you've got obviously
council president, isn't it?
Council president, who they both are very knowledgeable about what's going on in their city. I think they agree on a lot, it seemed like, in the forum.
It did.
So it's going to be interesting to see what Centerpoint decides there. There's hands down, the people in Centerpoint want to invest in public safety, and
clean up the community.
And people are really, everybody that ran seems to be highly focused on that.
I feel like the citizens of Centerpoint have reached that point where they want public safety prioritized. Period. They're not really interested in hearing reasons why not. They want it dealt with.
Right.
It is also abundantly clear that the citizens of Centerpoint, while I do think they feel safe in Centerpoint, they do not feel that it is up to the standard, to the comfort level that they want to have on an ongoing daily basis. And I think they're putting their foot down at this point.
I think they are too, and I think that they want to see that, and they feel like that is the layer that they've got to handle so that they can move on to other things.
That's right.
And
it is,
and I think that their voices have been heard there for sure.
And it's a good, strong community with good things happening there. So they're fighting for the best they can get, and I don't blame them.
In Springville, that was fascinating. We watched a community there, a city there, speak loudly as they voted out an incumbent mayor and voted in an incumbent who was on the council, who is a business owner in the community. And I think, it was interesting to me the night that we had the Springville Mayor Forums. I tried to watch the Facebook comments every time we had a forum, and there really wasn't a lot of comments that night, and we could tell the ones that were there were kind of coming from this one group. Anyway, it was eerily quiet, and I was just kind of like, "Ooh, these people have decided. This decision has been made. Which way does it go?" And it went Austin Phillips' way. And so it was just really interesting to watch there.
I think the decision was made over the last 5 years on an every passing week basis.
Right.
That's what we were hearing from our Springville voters. 5 years ago, Butch Isley had been mayor long term, was a good mayor.
Built a strong reserve.
He did. I mean, did a lot of positive things for Springville. I think Butch would be the very first to tell you, look, I may not be the best people person, okay? And he could come across as a little gruff. We had a great relationship with him. I remember his son being shot while he was, I believe, working at UAB. And I found him to be just a very nice, outgoing fellow when we interacted with him. But he had a reputation of being a little bit gruff, and so people of Springville really wanted to change. And Dave Thomas, a former state legislator, jumped in the race. And we talked then about what a polished politician he was. Dave Thomas was very polished at talking to people and talking in the public. And the timing was right because Springville was going to make a change. Almost immediately into that administration, we started hearing from voters of Springville basically saying, "What have we done?" there was supporting the legalized marijuana rallies, in St. Clair County outside the Springville city limits. There were just kind of ongoing, there were personnel changes that people could not figure out or explain. There were hiring of an attorney and a contract for him that nobody in Springville could find any value. I mean, it was just one thing after another after another. And then it ended just a couple of months ago when the mayor decided to monopolize a council meeting. And council members sat there for 2 hours without being able to say a word or do any city business. And at that point, I think we got pretty vocal about it. And he had some words for us at the Tribune. But I'm telling you, for 5 years, when you're hearing the citizens say over and over and over, we need to change, this isn't going to work out, then I was not surprised to see a new mayor elected.
Yeah,
I have never seen numbers like this.
Yeah, 84% of the vote. Austin Phillips got 84% of the vote.
84%.
That's a lot. And so we'll be reaching out to him to have him, like Scott mentioned earlier, we do want to have all the new mayors, re-elected mayors here on the show in the coming weeks, and so we'll be reaching out to Mr. Phillips.
Do you have those vote totals? If the public hasn't heard the numbers,
I did the other night, but I don't know that I can find them that quickly. Well, I might can, but they were just.
It was staggering.
Yeah,
I've never in my life seen anything like that.
Yeah.
The incumbent mayor, if you correct me if I'm wrong, under 200 votes.
Yeah.
And Austin Phillips, who was elected, I think was well over 1,000 votes. Oh, you got them up?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They're loading right now. So, yeah, Austin Phillips had 1,069 and Dave Thomas had 137.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, it was yeah.
And listen, that should be a cautionary tale. We've got a lot of new people across.
There's the slide, yep.
We've got a lot of new people across the 9 cities who were elected to office for the first time. And that should be a cautionary tale. Okay, the public has entrusted you with the responsibility to run the city. I hope you'll take it seriously. I don't think any of you ran with the intention of doing anything other than taking it seriously and giving it your very best effort. But again, take a look at what happened in Springville, 1 year of that mayor in office. And if you don't think the citizens who elected you are paying attention, and we talk about it all the time, they don't pay attention as much as they should, but a lot of them are watching and they're seeing, and you need to live up to your promises.
Those are the ones that show up at the polls.
You need to live up to your
A
promises.
couple other leads again. That one is headed to a runoff. There were 4 people in that race, so a runoff was
just barely.
Yeah,
barely.
Hard to avoid there.
Yep.
And so Mr. Washington and Mr. Moore are headed to a runoff in Leeds.
Two good candidates in that, by the way.
Yes. And then in Moody, the current council president, Nick Rutledge, is going in as mayor there. And then also... I
think Nick will do a very good job at Moody.
And then, and we'll plan on having him up here too. And then in Argo, they have a new mayor because Mayor Bradley retired.
Yep.
And it's Randy Hedich, right? Is going in as mayor there.
You pointed out he's chairman of the P&Z committee now. Randy, very personable guy. He'll do an outstanding job, in my opinion, as mayor at Argo. We've had such a great relationship under Betty Bradley's administration. So
looking forward to that.
Yeah, looking forward to dealing with Randy, and I think he's going to be a lot of fun to deal with.
Problems. That's a real problem. Those roads and those neighborhoods there where the developers, went belly up, and Argo has a lot of that to handle. It's
very,
a heavy thing.
very tough on those homeowners.
So they need good leadership there for sure.
And I think they'll get that from Randy. I also think, we talk about the problems in Argo. It is a bedroom community. They're limited on business and sales tax support.
And they all gave so much credit to Mayor Bradley, who's outgoing, about how much she has accomplished as mayor. And so I thought they did. Everybody that came in here noted that.
Yeah, it is also a wonderful place to live.
Yes.
Beautiful part of Alabama. It is exactly what a lot of people prefer, a true bedroom community. So there's enough positive happening in Argo that once the right minds get to thinking about it, that'll be a good situation.
Last but certainly not least, one I didn't totally see coming was that mayor of Clay, Charles Webster, was unseated by Jane Anderson.
Yeah,
So we'll
very
get her
tight
up here.
race.
That could mean a lot of changes in how their government is set up.
It could.
And so we're going to have to follow that closely and see what happens there.
They will. They chose a mayor council form of government. It's kind of an unofficial way to approach it. We actually talked to the League of Municipalities when they did that, and they told us then, yeah, they can, under their classification, they can do what they did. So for several years, it's really been more of a partnership between Mayor Webster and City Manager Ronnie Dixon.
Right.
They have kind of run the city in an old school way, an old fashioned way, and that by that I mean those are very hands-on guys.
Yes.
Ronnie would not pay somebody to go do something he could do himself. That's kind of the way our generation was brought up. Charles is very much that way. And I think they were very, very effective for the city of Clay over those years. But cities change, and the desires of people change, and you can see in every city. We just sat there and talked to Jamie Melton Anderson, okay, whose father was mayor for 20 years, took Trussville through a growth period that I'm assuming you never dreamed you'd see growing up in this town.
Yes, 100%.
But even there reached a point the citizens are ready to take a little new direction. And so I think that's what we've seen in Clay.
Yep.
I was impressed with Jane Anderton. I think she'll do a very good job.
So we'll look forward to having her
Yep.
here. Oh, and I didn't mention Pinson. Hoyt Sanders goes back in as Mayor Pinson. Just based on interacting with him at the forum, I think that he is going to be super excited about getting to lead Pinson again.
That forum was an interesting one to me. I've said many times, and Pinson, kind of like Trussville City Schools, is a new city. It's one of the oldest communities in Jefferson County, but it's
Hoyt
a
knows
new
a
city.
lot about that city.
Well, he was the first mayor, and I will say Pinson has been blessed. They have had 3 mayors in their history, and all 3 have loved that city more than they've loved themselves.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's a good position to be in. As I watched Hoyt and Robbie Roberts, Robbie is the sitting mayor, and Hoyt, former mayor, now mayor-elect, both of those guys are fully capable of running the city of
100%.
Pinson. Both of them love Pinson, and both of them
Deeply
are
understand the finances.
very much so. They're both fiscally responsible, conservative guys. The city would have been in good hands. Pinson, y'all were in good hands no matter who you picked there. But the thing that stood out is Robbie tended to be more more black and white on terms of what the city could afford and what they couldn't afford. Hoyt seemed to have more of an attitude of, while they did not disagree about the money available and the funding available, Hoyt's attitude was a little bit more, we'll have to look for a way to make that happen, understanding that you can do stuff you might not be able to afford if you're willing to cut things you're paying for.
Right.
If you're willing to make adjustments. So there was a little bit, I sensed a little bit of that, is that Hoyt brought maybe a touch more optimism to the conversation than Robbie did, but I think many times they were almost saying the same exact thing, just presenting it slightly differently. I will say this to our audience in Pinson, and you guys are a great, loyal audience to the Tribune. We appreciate you. Y'all are in good shape, and you were in a no-lose situation. It'll be fun to have Hoyt back in, and he'll do a great job.
Absolutely. Okay, we are going to, because we're late today, and so I've got to go pick up my kids. So we are just going to mention one other story, and I'm going to cut the rest of these.
Okay.
I do think it's good for people to know, because we mentioned it last week, that the interstate exit is opening ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
I mean, geez, that never happens. And we mentioned that it might, and it is. And like we said, we didn't feel like it's had as bad of an impact on traffic, or it hasn't seemed as bad as we thought it were going to.
No.
So then is there like a little break?
Yeah.
And then they're going to do the other
They'll
side.
do the northbound side.
Okay.
Valley Road traffic skyrocketed during the southbound exit. So a lot of people are discovering that maybe for the first time and realizing there are some alternate routes. I would say to the people at the Pinnacle, you've got more cars coming up that back road than you have ever had since your buildings were built. You guys need to take a lot better advantage of all that traffic coming directly to your stores. Your signage is horrible. It should have been upgraded. I'm pulling for you, Pinnacle, but y'all got to pull for yourselves a little bit.
So they technically reopened Tuesday,
Yeah.
didn't they?
Yeah.
But I did.
And they told everybody yesterday morning.
Yeah, I don't blame them.
Yeah.
So, and I thought this was what I was going to point out too, is that ALDOT has encouraged people that although the ramps are reopening, to continue to encourage motorists to use alternate routes and adjust travel times when possible, because there's still
You're still limited.
work going
Yeah.
on. They can open the ramps. It doesn't mean the work's done, but they're able to accommodate some traffic. But hey,
You're
if
still
you,
down to one lane
if
through
you
there.
have found an alternate route that's working for you, maybe keep doing that
Yeah,
right now.
I would. And
You know?
I think a lot of people will end up sticking with Valley Road. Again, that's a chance for the Pinnacle to have new life breathed into them. And we should probably follow up with a story and find out how in touch is your property management arm of your business in with what's going on in Trussville right now. Because y'all kind of seem oblivious to the fact that your traffic just went up about 800%.
Interesting.
So we'll see what
Okay.
goes on there. You had mentioned the pedestrian. We need to touch on that.
Well, I had it in there to mention
Yeah.
there that
We had two pedestrian situations. We had one
on Main
pedestrian,
Street in Trussville.
was hit in front of Marco's Pizza near there trying to cross. I think that injury, I think he's in good shape. We had another pedestrian the following night
that
who was,
more serious.
struck and killed in front of Jack's on Highway 11.
Oh, no, I didn't realize that one. I
Yeah,
missed that
50-year-old Trussville man. The investigation's underway. They think he got out of his car to check something that may have been in the road, and he was hit by a motorcyclist with two people on the motorcycle. They were both injured but are in stable condition, but he was killed. So, tough week. Just be careful out there, y'all. After it gets dark, you may think people see you and they don't.
Well, and one thing we're dealing with here in Trussville, especially on Main Street downtown, is just foot traffic. We just have a lot more foot traffic, and it's a change in lifestyle, but we've just got to look out for everybody.
and you do.
And with scooter and electric bike traffic.
That's right. It's going to get busier.
Golf cart traffic. There's just different modes of transportation in Trussville now that we just have to look out
That's right.
for.
You've got more and more people wanting to cross from the entertainment district over to Half Shell or over to Bendy's or City Bowls or Marco's. So you're getting
kids
more back.
motoring over to like City Bowls and Bendy's and
let me-
Sonic.
Let me just tell you, we have pedestrian crosswalks on Main Street downtown. Teach your kids to use those.
Yes,
They've
yes,
got,
and
they've
all
got
up
the
chock
lights.
full.
And,
They work. I mean, they
do.
work.
And
people
it's better
stop.
lit at that intersection than it is at any stretch on that
Yes.
road. So
Yeah.
teach your kids, use that, wait on the walk signal to come up, stay in those crosswalks, and make sure the cars see you.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's one thing if you see them, make sure they see you.
Okay, well, thanks for being with us today. We'll be back next week.